Tryna say I'm only enemy. Got a code with my dogs, can get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Amen. Amen.
Welcome in, everybody. The only thing crazier than the fact that we made it through this 82-game NBA season is the fact that the West is this crazy, and that's what we're going to be talking about today, the Western Conference play-in tournament. In the 7-8 matchup, we have the Warriors and the Grizzlies. In the 9-10 matchup, we have the Kings and the Mavericks, and I don't think it's a secret to say that this is the more interesting side of the play-in conferences. So let's talk about it. But JJ, how excited are we for these games?
At least for the first one, I'm very excited. Second one, not so much. But
I will say, as much as I not as excited for the Kings matchup, like you said, I'm excited to see how it looks, because the reality is lately neither of these teams have been healthy. It looks like they're finally both healthy, like just in time. And they're not bad when they're both healthy. They're certainly not, like, neither of them would be top 4 seeds if they're healthy, but it does make things interesting. So we'll get into it. Let's talk about the 7-8 matchup first with the Grizzlies and the Warriors. The big difference between their last crazy matchup, I think it finished 141 to 125, is that Jalen Wells is injured. He won't be playing in this one. So, well, what's the first thing that stands out when we look at this matchup, JJ?
Probably going to be seeing a lot of Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
He's probably going to have to be the main guy to guard Steph Curry, because Jalen Wells was that primary defender. Outside of those two, I don't know who else is going to be able to chase him around screens. I mean, maybe Vince Williams. But, he's a bigger guy, so it's going to be kind of tough on the off-ball stuff.
I agree. I don't think they're going to have as much of an answer for Curry. I feel like ever since they played each other in the playoffs last time around, I think it was like 2-3 years ago, maybe even 4. I don't remember. But it feels like ever since then, Curry's just had their number. And a lot of that has been due to the Grizzlies having their own issues. And the issue is they still have their own issues. They fired their head coach 10 games ago. Ja Morant has been going crazy since then, which I think is what's going to make this game super interesting. But nonetheless, I think I actually do like Scottie Pippen. I'm not going to lie, because as much as we've shown respect to Jalen Wells throughout the season, not just us, but everybody, for how well he's been defensively, he didn't do very well against Steph last game. It was either he was going under a screen, which you never do against Steph Curry, or he was trying to top lock him, and then Steph just slipped to the basket for an open layup. So maybe it's for the better for the Grizzlies. I think a lot of it is going to come down to how much attention do the Warriors want to give to Ja Morant, because they've seen him a million times now, and I think they know priority number one is getting the ball out of Ja Morant's hands. But then you look at some of the recent games since Coach Jenkins was fired, Ja Morant's usage has been absolutely wild. So I think that's going to be the chess match in this game. That's going to be one of the biggest deciders. The other thing I think is going to be Zach Edey, because Draymond Green is not exactly a traditional center, and Zach Edey does not like to step out of the paint defensively. But he also has a giant size advantage against him. So that'll be another interesting thing. I think we get to see play back and forth. Hopefully, for the Warriors' sake, Draymond's threes are actually falling. But the other thing that makes this super huge, which is a reason Steph Curry did so well last game, is if Zach Edey isn't dropped and Draymond gets the ball and Curry is the next pass over, Draymond's not even going to think about shooting. He's just going to catch it and run a handoff with Curry. And because Zach Edey's so deep in a drop, as long as Draymond sets one of those illegal screens that the defender has no chance of getting through, Steph has a wide open three. So it's going to be a lot of pick your poison versus the Grizzlies. But since the new head coaches seem to boost Zach Edey's minutes a lot, even in matchups that we thought weren't going to be good ones, I think that could be a lot of trouble for the Grizzlies defensively.
Could be. It will be a lot of trouble for that Grizzlies defense. Even while he's in a super deep drop, Draymond's still getting passed off, like right there at the rim, and they're still getting layups. He's just not fast enough, but you're going to have to keep him on the court because there's no Brandon Clark. And he does give you like a huge rebounding chance. Second chance points are huge, especially in the playoffs.
The other thing, too, is, the Warriors are about as experienced as it gets in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Going against a coach that has the second least experience as a coach in the NBA, only behind the Nuggets coach, because the Nuggets coach was hired 4 days ago as the head coach. So it's a very big gap and experience, which is not what you want in a winner-take-all game. So the Warriors are pretty big favorites for a game where it's a 7-8 seed. They're 7-point favorites, and I think that's fair. Like I will say, I don't think there's value in the line. I think the books have kind of already factored it in, but
Mm.
I am fairly confident in the Warriors taking care of business, especially at home, by the way, which is another big thing.
Yeah, I gotta agree there as well.
I think that's like the gist of it. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Well,
Yeah.
we gotta ask one thing: playoff Jimmy. Like, what do we expect here?
I mean, I was gonna say I'm just not buying into it, and then he had that 30-point game against the Clippers last game where they were fighting for to get out of the play-in spot. So now I'm kind of wanting to buy into it again. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
The issue is his matchup is probably what, Jaren Jackson?
it's gonna be a tough matchup, but he'll probably draw a lot of fouls.
Yeah,
They
that's
get
true.
Jaren Jackson in foul trouble. It's gonna be a problem.
That is a fair point. So I guess that's what it's gonna come down to. Which, if you're the Grizzlies fan, probably scares you because Jaren Jackson is not very good at staying out of foul trouble.
Yep.
But if he stays out of foul trouble, I'm not expecting. That's going to be tough for Jimmy. Let's be honest. I love Jimmy. When he turns on in the playoffs, it's great. But there's a reason Jaren Jackson, at least at one point, was a depoy candidate. And I don't know. We'll see. Jimmy loses a lot of size in that matchup.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Do you think that Jimmy's success determines how well Golden State does, or do you think they win with or without him having a big game?
As far as this matchup, I think his success doesn't really matter. You still got Steph Curry. I think for other series, it would matter.
I completely agree. So, Warriors take care of business. Big opportunity for Draymond, both in the points and assists arena. Steph Curry should get a decent amount of open looks, more than he's used to, at least as long as Zach Edey's on the court. I think his points line is already well adjusted, but we'll get into our picks for the game at the end of this video. But the next game we get to talk about is the Mavericks and Kings. Anthony Davis wasn't healthy until like 10 games ago. Gafford and Lively weren't healthy until like 5 games ago. So the Mavericks are just getting their guys back. The Kings have just had like Sabonis was out for a few games. He came back. Then Monk was out for a few games. Then he came back. Now he's on the bench. Then he missed another 2 games. And it's just been, for a team that only had 2 or 3 months to figure it out before the playoffs, 2 months before the playoffs started, they haven't had much time where everybody's actually on the court together to get it figured out. With that being said, LaVine and DeRozan have been going fucking nuclear lately. I think that's part of the reason that when Monk came back, they kind of put him on the bench. They said, hey, we're going to keep letting LaVine and DeMar cook. It's been helping us. We're going to let it keep helping us. And, I mean, that's really all I have to say about the Kings. I don't have much optimism for them in this matchup. There's nothing from a game plan perspective where I look at them like they have the advantage here, because DeRozan's probably going to get the PJ Washington matchup. And last year, pretty much whoever PJ Washington was defended, I was taking his unders in the playoffs. Anthony Davis is going to get the Keegan Murray matchup. Love Keegan Murray. That's not going to work. And then Lively and Gafford, Sabonis obviously has a decent advantage against. But I mean, at least Lively can hold his own defensively enough where Sabonis is not going to have a game that wins them the game. Like, he'll have a game where he'll do what's expected of Sabonis, I think. But I don't think he's going to be putting up a 30, 15, and 10 type of game here.
No, I definitely agree. There's so much going on. It's gonna be tough.
I will say I'm really liking Point Dinwiddie for the Mavericks. I think it's ever since he was put as the sole one and Dante Exum got it because Dante Exum got injured. I feel like the offense has been functioning a lot smoother, and that was I think that they were doing that for a few games before Anthony Davis even returned, and I was able to say the same thing. Now Anthony Davis is getting his groove back a little bit. I think they've won 6 of 9 games since Anthony Davis came back. Of their 3 losses, one was a Brooklyn Nets game where they shot 50% from the free throw line and lost by 4, so that wasn't great. But then at the Clippers, I think the spread was 10 plus points. I bet on the Clippers. I expected that to happen for them to lose that one. The other one was the Lakers and Luka's homecoming game, and I mean, they never had a chance when there's that narrative going on. So I'm way more focused on the 6 wins and the 3 losses since everybody's starting to get healthy. So I think Mavericks have the better roster, and I don't think there's anything where I think the Kings can pick on and potentially get an upset.
Yeah. I just want to say we did have a brain fart. Malik Monk is out.
Oh, Malik Monk is out. Shit.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought he was coming back.
Yeah.
Either way,
I had to
it
look it
doesn't
up
make
just
a
to make sure
difference.
because I knew I was tripping.
Yeah, either way,
That's
it
what
doesn't.
vacation does for y'all.
Yeah, we both just got back yesterday, but yeah, I don't really think it matters because Kiana, he was coming off the bench anyways. They were gonna have to lean on Levine and DeRozan, so doesn't like I'm not any more or less confident in the pick. I didn't think it was gonna move the needle that much anyway. So Mavericks should take care of business. Point Dinwiddie's probably gonna keep doing his thing. PJ Washington, I am expecting him to not take care of DeRozan. DeRozan will still be DeRozan, but it'll be a lot more difficult for DeRozan than other matchups they could have potentially gotten. They're basically going to say, hey, Levine, go get us 40. If Levine can't do that, then I don't think there's much of a chance for
Yeah, I
Kings
don't
to
know if
take care
there's
of
going to
business
be
here.
enough offensive help because this Mavericks defense, when fully healthy, has played pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I mean,
kind of
how do you
answers they'll
not?
have.
When you have
Yeah.
Anthony Davis and Derek Lively in there and PJ Washington as your three guys protecting the basket, I mean,
Yep.
you have to have a horrible coach for that not to go well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look at some metrics with Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, and Spencer Dinwiddie on the floor. If I can find Anthony Davis, that would be a huge help. There he is. In terms of on-off splits, when all three of them are on, they have a 114.8 offensive rating in 77 minutes. I have no idea how their defensive rating is this bad. 133. It's only 77. So if I just want to let me just look at PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, maybe. Even though PJ Washington's been dealing with some injuries. It gets a little better. Still only 131-minute sample size. Let me just look at Anthony Davis because, let's be honest, that's the one we care about the most. Again, doesn't move the needle as much as I thought it would from a net rating perspective. So we'll see what happens then. Let me try Derek Lively or Daniel Gafford in there with him.
I just think overall this Kings team has just like fell off a cliff the past month and a half. It has not been good basketball at all.
Yeah, like they look good lately, and that's literally because like Levine and DeRozan are both going for 35 in the same game multiple times, shooting like 60% from three. It's not, you can't bet on that. I will say with Anthony Davis and who is it? Anthony Davis and Daniel Gafford, they do have a +6 net rating, so that's promising. Only 54 minutes, so do what you will with that information. But I mean, this is one of those things I feel like. The numbers are the numbers, but if you're just watching basketball, you see it, you kind of see it.
Yeah.
So Keegan Murray, he's not going to be able to defend Anthony Davis
at all. They just don't match up well.
Yep. So let's get into the picks. For our first play, you could have guessed it pretty easily. Draymond Green -155 at 24.5 PRA. We don't really have a parlay for this one. There's a lot of little pieces we like here and there. There's Scottie Pippen's points since he's going to see more minutes. Ja Morant assists. He always racks up potentials against Golden State. But there's a lot that I don't really want to play with the Memphis coach. What we know for sure is that he wants to play Zach Edey pretty much like 30 minutes. And as long as Draymond's in the game being guarded by Zach Edey, this line makes no sense. So the matchup's too good to pass up. And for the Dallas game, again, we wish there was more to like. Unfortunately, we don't have much information to work with. We're going to go with the Dallas money line. The PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and then two bigs that the Mavs have, I'm expecting to cause a lot of problems for the Kings in this one. We think the Mavs defense is significantly better than the Kings defense. I have no idea why this is plus money. The only thing I can think of is that the Kings are 3-0 against Mavericks this season, but one of those was with pretty much everybody out. Another one, everybody was out after Kyrie went down and tore his ACL. That was that game. And then the third one, I think Kessler Edwards was the starting center still. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about those three games. Plus 168, I'll take all that value. JJ, am I missing anything?
Not at all. Dallas, that defense, even though like on paper it didn't look good after we looked through the stats, they're still a much better unit than the Kings. And
Yeah.
the Kings are still without Malik Monk. So DeRozan and Levine, like we said earlier, they have to have huge games here. AD is going to be a huge mismatch against Keegan Murray in that front court. Like, they have a huge front court advantage here.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what else to say. That paint is going to be anchored, so it's going to be tough for Levine to get to the rim. But it's going to be a lot of jump shooting from DeRozan and Levine here. I don't think it's going to be enough though.
Yeah, like I think this is Jason Kidd should be taking advantage of this a lot, and if he doesn't, there needs to be conversations about him in the offseason, even though, like, not actually like in the hot seat, but like, hey, you need to fucking rebound next season. I know there was injuries, all that stuff, but off this game alone, there should be a lot. The only way they lose is if they get out coached. Let me put it that way. So as long as that doesn't happen, Mavericks take care of business. But otherwise, JJ, always good having you on. Make sure you guys like and subscribe because we got videos for the main series coming on as well. So we'll see you guys soon.